the hunter spotted a horse surrounded by a pack of wolves in the forest. Instinctively, he grabbed his rifle ready to rescue the animal, but what happened next shocked him so deeply that his weapon slipped from his hands. The reason why the wolves weren't attacking the horse turned out to be utterly unbelievable. In the small village of Blackwood, nestled among the majestic peaks of the Rocky Mountains, strange events began to unfold. It all started during a harsh winter when temperatures dropped to record lows. The elders said they hadn't seen such a cold winter in 30 years. Snow covered the ground in a thick white blanket, turning the surrounding forest into a kingdom of ice and silence. The first to notice the unusual horse was an old forester named Joseph, who lived on the village's outskirts. Returning from his rounds, he saw a large brown M standing at the forest's edge. The animal appeared well groomed and domesticated, but something about its behavior unsettled the seasoned forester. The horse stood unusually calm despite the fact that several gray shadows circled around it. Squinting, Joseph realized to his astonishment that they were wolves. 4 large predators moved around the horse, but showed no aggression. Joseph rubbed his eyes in disbelief. In his 30 years in the forest, he had seen many incredible things, but nothing like this. The next day, Joseph recounted the strange incident at Mike's Tavern, the local bar. At first, the regulars reacted welcome to spa stories, where the line between the known and the unknown fades, and the shadows whisper truths untold. Tonight, we delve into the primal connection between humans and animals, a bond forged in trust, sometimes fear, and always in mystery. Skeptically, some suggested the old man had indulged in too much whiskey. Others decided that his long solitude had started to affect his mind. However, within days, Sarah Parker, the owner of a small farm on the other side of the village, also spotted the strange sight. Early one morning, as she went out to check her chicken coop, she froze in place. On the snowy field near her house grazed the same brown horse, surrounded by a pack of wolves as if standing guard. The news quickly spread throughout Blackwood, and now no one doubted Joseph's story. The villagers split into 2 camps. Some believed the horse needed to be rescued from the predators, while others insisted on not interfering with nature. The first attempt to approach the unusual group ended in failure. 3 young men from the local stable tried to lure the horse with oats, but the wolves immediately positioned themselves between the men, and their unusual charge, bared fangs and threatening growls, forced the would-be rescuers to retreat. Subsequent attempts to get close to the horse were similarly thwarted. Each time, the wolves displayed remarkable unity in protecting their unusual companion. However, they never pursued the humans, merely keeping them at a safe distance. The townsfolk began to form various theories. The local biology teacher, Mr. Thompson, speculated that the wolves might have accepted the horse into their pack due to some unique behavioral pattern. Frank Miller, the owner of the hunting supply store, attributed the phenomenon to the harsh winters, suggesting that hunger had driven the predators to seek unconventional food sources. Meanwhile, the story of this extraordinary natural phenomenon began to spread beyond Blackwood. The local newspaper published an article that was picked up by regional outlets. Social media soon featured the first photos of the mysterious group, taken by villagers from a safe distance. This was how Iden Hawk, a well-known hunter of rare trophies, learned about the story. He lived for hours away in Riverside and was renowned for his collection of hunting trophies, which included some truly rare specimens. At first, Iden dismissed the photos as skillful fakes, but as more images surfaced online, his confidence in their authenticity grew. The bizarre story sparked his imagination with the prospect of acquiring a unique trophy. After a week of deliberation, Iden decided to travel to Blackwood. He meticulously prepared for the hunt, selecting the best equipment and paying special attention to a camouflage suit designed to mask his scent from the wolves' keen noses. Arriving in Blackwood late at night, Iden chose to stay at a small motel on the outskirts to avoid drawing attention. He knew the locals might not approve of his intentions. Early the next morning, just as dawn broke, Iden was already up. He had a quick breakfast of military rations and drank a thermos of strong coffee, knowing the day ahead would be long and challenging. Not only did he have to find the unusual group of animals, but he also needed to pick the perfect moment for a shot. The forest greeted him with an unsettling silence. Accustomed to the usual sounds of wildlife, Aiden immediately sensed something was off. There was no bird song nor the rustle of squirrels darting among the trees. It seemed as though the entire forest was holding its breath in anticipation. The first 2 hours of searching yielded nothing. Aiden methodically explored the area, moving in a spiral from the forest edge toward its center. He scrutinized tracks in the snow, looking for hoof prints or wolf paw marks. Finally, his efforts paid off. In the distance, he heard a wolf's howl that grew closer. Determining the direction, Aiden cautiously advanced toward the sound, staying in the shadows of the trees. After half an hour, he saw them. The brown horse walked majestically among the snow-covered pines, flanked by fur-gray wolves moving like an honor guard. The animal seemed so at ease, as if this peculiar group had always existed. Aiden froze, observing the extraordinary sight. His hunting instincts told him to wait for the perfect moment to shoot. He scanned the area for a vantage point and noticed a tall tree with sturdy branches nearby. Deciding it was the ideal spot for an ambush, he began climbing, moving slowly to avoid making noise. Each movement was a struggle. His gear and rifle made the ascent arduous. Settling on a thick branch, Aiden positioned himself and aimed his rifle. Through the scope, he could clearly see the group. The horse had stopped in a small clearing, and the wolves surrounded it like sentinels on guard duty. Aiden's finger hovered over the trigger when he heard a sharp crack. A moment later, the branch beneath him gave way and he tumbled to the ground. Fortunately, the deep snow cushioned his fall, but the loud crash caught the animal's attention. Before Aiden could rise, he found himself encircled by snarling wolf faces. The predator glared at him with unmistakable menace but did not attack. It was as if they were waiting for something. Then he understood. The brown horse approached him calmly and confidently, without a hint of fear. It stopped right in front of him, locking eyes with him. At that moment, Aiden felt something extraordinary, as though the animal was evaluating him, making a decision. For a few tense moments, they stood in this peculiar standoff. Then the horse slowly lowered its head and sniffed Aiden. After that, it retreated just as calmly, and the wolves immediately ceased their threatening growls. The group turned and moved away leisurely, leaving the stunned hunter standing in the snowy clearing. Aiden couldn't believe what had just happened. In all his years of hunting, he had never encountered anything like it. Driven by curiosity, Aiden decided to follow the unusual group at a respectful distance, careful to remain unseen. The animal seemed oblivious to his presence. An hour later, they stopped near a tall tree, hiding behind a thick pine trunk. Aiden watched. What he saw next completely changed his understanding of animal behavior. The horse suddenly reared up, stretching to its full height. Its front hooves reached an old hunting trap set high in the tree. The trap contained the frozen carcass of a wild boar. The wolves waited patiently as their unusual ally retrieved the catch. When the carcass fell to the ground, they didn't immediately pounce but waited for the horse to step aside. Aiden finally grabbed the essence of this remarkable symbiosis. The horse helped the wolves access food in places they couldn't reach, and in return they protected it from other predators. It was an astonishing example of natural adaptation and mutual benefit. Quietly retreating, Aiden left the animals to their meal. As he returned to his motel, he reflected on the unique phenomenon he had witnessed. No trophy could compare to the experience he had gained that day. Back in Riverside, Aiden told no one about what he had seen in Blackwood Forest. He knew publicizing the story might attract other hunters less ethical than himself. It was better for the extraordinary tale to remain a local legend. Over the following months, Blackwood residents continued to occasionally spot the unusual group at the forest edge. No one tried to approach or interfere with their interaction. Again, people learned to respect this incredible alliance born of harsh necessity. When spring finally arrived in the mountains, hunters found many empty traps in the forest. Old Joseph, checking them, simply shook his head and smiled. Knowingly, he alone guessed the reason behind this phenomenon, but chose to keep it to himself. Gradually, the story grew with new embellishments. Some claimed they saw the horse and wolves hunting deer together. Others swore the pack had protected their unusual friend from a bear. The truth was both simpler and more incredible than these tales. Years later, I then returned to Blackwood. The unusual group was no longer in the forest, but the locals still recount the story of the remarkable brown horse and its wolf guardians. The legend became part of local folklore, a reminder that nature can create the most unbelievable alliances when survival is at stake.